Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Tuesday, November 26th, and we have a couple of folks reporting today. We've got CrowdStrike and Workday at the end of the day reporting. We also, if we take a look at the futures in the Bloomberg app, we can see that the Dow is off, but the other two indices, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, are in the green as we go into basically we're an hour out from the start of trading to the open. The big news of the day is Trump's announcement of tariffs and a 25%, I think it was 25% on products from Canada and Mexico, and another 10% on those from China. So we're already getting rattled in the markets by Trump's announcements, and he's not even in the office. So this kind of reminds me of the last Trump administration, where he would make these statements typically on Twitter at the time, or on X. Now he's making them on Truth Social, but he would make them on social media and the market would get rattled and would react. Now, nothing has actually happened at this point. There's no results, so there's no earnings, there's no revenue loss, there's no drop in earnings, there's no nothing, but the market gets rattled and it typically makes a move. And this is the era we're moving back into. So this is something just to prepare you for really the new year, but on our way to the new year, on our way to the end of January when he takes the White House and moves in. This is the environment that we're moving back into. So it's going to be a much more volatile market, in my opinion, and things are going to move based on news announcements and quickly. So we want to be prepared for that. And we're already seeing that here. And it can affect the positions you're in, if from a positive way and from a negative perspective. So just be aware that that's the market we're moving back into. If we turn our attention over to the Yahoo Finance app, you can see here on the screen, crude is up 53 cents. It dropped huge yesterday. So it dropped down into the low 69s, high 68s at one point. It's now back up to 69, call it 69.50. And it is it has been up. It looks like it could continue up, but there's really no news around crude that is affecting that I'm aware of at this point. The NASDAQ we saw was up. The VIX is still down, which is positive. It was green this morning. It's now into the red. It's losing traction, and that's the volatility index. So that's good. That it means that there is a feeling that there's less risk in the market for money to be deployed and investments to be made. So that's a positive overall. That also tracks, let's say, economic trends and economic data points. So looking at PCE, PCI, employment numbers, looking at your federal interest rate cuts and other things that fall into that bucket. And there's a lot of them. So if we scroll down through health and retail, you can see that Costco's been doing quite well, up in the 960s. I think it's getting a little expensive there. And with all the tariff talk, I'm actually surprised that's one of the stocks that hasn't pulled back. I'm surprised Dollar General hasn't pulled back more with the tariff talks, and Walmart. Walmart in particular has come out, as has, I believe, Target, and said they're very concerned with the increase in tariffs because that's obviously going to have a huge impact on Walmart and Target. And we scroll down, we see ATD at the end of the day dropped. Don't know, didn't look into what the earnings were from ATD yesterday, but we can see that they are out and they have been announced. So it looks like they're actually fairly positive. Margin decreased by 1%, which is never good. But and a few decreases, so maybe not great across the board here. But that stock, we'll see what happens today. There's no pre-market update or trading on that in the in the Yahoo Finance app. But that looks like it could be set for a drop and could make it an interesting purchase in the long term. We scrolling down to Home Depot, had a great day yesterday, up almost $9. Nike's coming back. It's almost at $80. So, but again, I think tariffs could be a big potential impact on Nike. The healthcare stocks are slowly making their way upwards. So we'll continue to see if that trend continues. Transport is doing well. I mean, look at JB Hunt yesterday, had an incredible day, up almost at 190. And then oil. Oil was off for the most part yesterday because oil did drop significantly in the mid-morning session, and the oil stocks followed. Now, it looks like they're set for a bit of a recovery based on some of the green on the screen around those today and what we're seeing with crude futures out January 25th. That said, if you've been following my videos, crude is super volatile these days. It can have $2 swings in a day, which is more than 2%, which is pretty significant for something like this to move. And that usually has a correlated effect on the movement of the oil refinery stocks. Not always, but usually. Now we scroll down to tech, and you can see that NVIDIA had a bad day. It was down yesterday. It was off yesterday. Looks like it's recovering a bit. Micron up in the 104, 104.5 range. Pretty good. Looks like it's off a little to start. CrowdStrike reports today. So this will be one to watch after market. It's had a good run in the last 6 months. I mean, you can see back here where it announced earnings, and sorry, I don't know if this is where it announced earnings. I don't want to make an incorrect statement. I think this could be where they had the outage. And it dropped significantly down into the 220, 217 range. It has steadily climbed back from that point. And it's had earnings announcements since then. So that wasn't the earnings date. I think that was the outage date back then when they had the global outage. And it has steadily climbed back to just under where it was back in the heyday here. So if earnings are positive, and they very well could be based on what Nat and Palo Alto have announced, they could easily get back up into the 395, 390, 395 range today. So we'll keep an eye out on those earnings. I'm not putting any money on that one right now. I'm going to wait to see how that plays out. I don't have any holdings in CrowdStrike right now. Apple was up into the 230s yesterday. You've got Palo Alto, again, kind of in the same space as CrowdStrike, and Nat, both doing well. So it tells me there's potential for CrowdStrike to come out and do well today. That said, if you take a look at someone that announced this morning, you've got Zoom. Remember Zoom Video and how it took off during COVID? Well, this thing had great earnings this morning. I think met or exceeded, but not enough, and it's actually off almost 7% in early morning pre-market trading. So if you're not beating expectations by a good percent or a good percentage, then you often get slammed right now where we are in the market. 418, I do like Microsoft. It continues to flutter in the 400 and call it 14 to 32 range. And I think if you can pick it up on the low end, you won't go wrong with Microsoft. You may have to hold that to earnings. It doesn't look like we're having this Thanksgiving rally that I was thinking we would have, but it may be something that occurs in the Santa Claus rally prior to Christmas, when all of the index funds and mutual funds have to rebalance their portfolios to ensure proper weightings. And that's when a lot of institutional investment trades occur, and that moves these stock prices. Shopify has been on fire. I haven't talked much about Shopify. Very similar to Amazon in terms of what it does, providing a platform for people to sell, an e-commerce platform for people to sell products. This has had an amazing year. If you look at this year to date, it was down in the $74, $75 range back in August, and it is now easily doubled, more than doubled, up to 155 right now. I think it's on the pricey side, but they've had some amazing results. They're trading at 104 times price to earnings, which is a little expensive, obviously. And their 1-year target's 90. They've blown way past that. So I think it's too expensive for me to get into right now, but I will be watching that one more carefully because I definitely missed the boat on Shopify. AMD and our other semis, Lam Research, AMD, AVGO, which is Broadcom, all had good days yesterday, and it's looking like they're going to have good days again today. Meta was up yesterday. I expect Meta, it's up in the pre-market. I expect this to get up to 575 by next week. So I think, if not higher, I think we've got, we're going to see a spike in Meta before the end of the year, let's say, before the end of the calendar year. I definitely think we're going to see a spike in Meta. This thing has fallen from the low 600s into the mid 500s, and there's no real reason for that to have happened. And so I think it's just been temporarily hit, just like it was over here, and I think it's going to come back. So we've had a longer down period than we had back here in October from into November, and I think now it's ready to spike back up. So we should see one of these hockey sticks coming up. I think it's a very good time to get into Meta right now. The other one I think it's a good time to get into is Google. Google has fallen off. It may be a little early still to get into Google, but I do believe that if you look at the 1 month on Google, it obviously fell from as high as the low 180s down back to the mid 160s. I definitely think it's going to go back up to the 185, 190 range. Probably not until the end of December, but I'm banking on that, and I've got a lot of holdings in Google right now. And the other one that had an off day yesterday that I bought some call options on was TSM. I do believe that TSM is going to recover and should get back up into the low 200s, so we'll keep an eye on that. I bought those out for February of 2025, the call options. And then we've got SoFi still continuing its way upwards. Financials are doing really, really well, really on that whole deregulation narrative that we've been hearing about in the market. So Goldman is off, so is Morgan Stanley this morning. There's a few off this morning, but it's still early. They may turn green. And that is where we are in the market today. So if you're liking these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow. Have a great trading day.